thank you for joining Rocky and I in a very special, very special episode of Two Guys and a Computer and a Heck of a Lot of Wine. How you doing, Rocky?
I'm doing well, Bobby. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm doing as well as could be expected here with these crazy times we're in. But the wine is here. The wine is at your place. And hopefully we will give people some wine to talk about and possibly go out and buy on their own.
Well, and we have, lucky us, we actually have twice as much wine today. I guess we should explain, because in order to do this properly, we had to buy a bottle for each of us. So instead of having 4 bottles between the two of us and usually a guest or 2 or 3, we now have me and you, and I have 4 bottles and you have 4 bottles. So it's going to be an interesting show, huh?
Well, it's going to be an even more interesting after show, because my wife is doing a cocktail happy hour with a bunch of her friends via Zoom right after this show. So it's one thing after another tonight in regards to wine.
Well, let's hope that we don't let her down on these wines that we selected, because I haven't had any of them before. So.
You know, it's interesting for our fans that are watching the show. I guess this will be on in May, I guess, possibly. We're filming in our own home. I love that tree in the background. Is that your living room or your dining room or entertainment room?
Dining room. It's a tree. Sandy got it. I don't know where. If you look over my other shoulder here, there's a cat actually sleeping in a basket. And I cannot believe that my dogs have not started barking. They're in crates in the back room there. So
well, actually, it'd be great. It'd be great viral video if they do that.
Yeah, right. I might go grab one of them and just hold them up just to have that for the wine show. We've always talked about having a dog-themed wine show. Maybe this would be a good opportunity, right?
I agree. So you have your hat on because you probably need a haircut. My hair is completely out of control, but I don't even care anymore. So you got me beat, brother. Yeah, you got me beat.
It's bad. When I was just telling Jen, our producer here, that when I go to work now, the first thing I do when I come home is take a shower just to get all the germs off of me, and so I don't bother getting my hair back together. So I'm backwards hat today. We're casual. We're doing it from home. It's still going to be a lot of fun.
It is fascinating, though, how everybody cares about germs now, but just a few short months ago, people were coughing, sneezing all over everybody before, weren't they?
You know, what's funny, too, is that we filmed that last show right on the cusp when this was all just starting to go down. We were all, sitting side by side. And interestingly, they were doing a COVID-19 panel as right before our show.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They were actually in the room when they were doing that first panel trying to decant these wines, and everything was dark, and I'm like knocking into stuff. And I was standing up in front of the screen where I didn't realize the guy was using like figures on the screen. And he's like, well, I can't see the screen. So, and I'm, oh God, I'm that guy. I ruined I think this whole thing's my fault, basically.
Yeah. Well, let's get to some wine. I think that's what we're here for, Rocky. And I think the first one I think you picked out and you dropped off to my house, dropped off a few days ago. What do you know about this little baby? I've never had this one before.
So I don't know that much about it. It's called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's spelled Arneis, Arneis, and it's from the kind of region up in the Piedmont area no, that's Merlot.
Wow. Yeah. So I've been sitting here too long. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is from the same region that you get, your Barberas and Nebbiolos and things like that. That heavy, Nebbiolo heavy red. This is a white wine from that region, and I was just reading the notes on it. Well, I don't want to assume what it's supposed to smell like or taste like, but
yeah,
let's just give it a. That's definitely got like some nuttiness and some honey to it, doesn't it?
That's nice. There is some acidity there.
Lemon, I haven't tried it yet.
Acidity with a little bit of lemon, just a tad. I mean, really just maybe a tad of apricot. But I think it's more lemon forward. But I like this. This is pretty good. This is definitely a summer or spring wine.
Italian whites are one of those things that people typically don't reach for. We Americans especially, we go for the California whites. They're big and bold, and they go with a lot of stuff. The Italian whites are always really good as well. Italian whites go unnoticed, but this is, this is like I can definitely taste some apricot in this. I can definitely taste a lot of lemon in it, maybe even a little bit of lime. You probably get a little bit of a peach note. There is some honey, and there's like I'm trying to figure out what kind of nut it is. It's almost like maybe like a almond, like a green almond kind of thing going
Oh,
on.
you're going much more in depth than I would probably go in this. Like you said, I get the lemon, I get a little apricot, I get a little lime. And this was very cold when I took it out of the refrigerator, and it's been sitting on my island for about 20 minutes, and it's warmed up. And I think it's actually better now than when I sampled it the first time.
Yeah.
Like you said before, you don't want these kind of wines too cold because you can't really taste anything. And I
Yeah,
think at this temperature, it's definitely opened up, and you can sort of get all the characteristics that you're talking about.
yeah. The wines that you want to drink the most cold are going to be your sparkling wines like champagne. And I would say most of the time I drink a white wine. You can see this is on the rosé. This thing right here, it's a chiller, and it just grips the bottle and it keeps it freezing cold. So when you're outside, this is really nice. I like my rosés ice cold, especially in the summertime, sitting out back in the sun. So that thing right there, I don't know. I've had this for years, but if everybody at home, definitely if you're used to drinking outside, you don't want to have like an ice bucket. The white wines get cold. These chillers right here, you keep them in the freezer, and they've got these little inner packs that just keep wine perfectly cold. I love that thing.
Yeah, they do work great. You do. So I'm going to say it. What was the price point on that rock?
It is, well, we're not allowed to say the exact price point. For some, I think we'd be advertising for them. But I got this at Costco after suiting up and waiting in line for about 45 minutes. It was between $10 to $13, somewhere around there.
Oh, that's a perfect price for this type of wine. And actually, I would say it drinks a little bit more expensive than that.
Yeah, I would have put this higher than that. This is something that I couldn't tell. I know I've had it before. I couldn't tell you the last time or where I had it, but I would definitely head back if I was in. I would definitely buy some more of this because it's very refreshing.
So I got to ask you, you do frequent Costco a lot for some wine occasionally. Were they pretty picked over too, or how was their selection when you were there?
Not at all. No, their selection of wine was great. The rest of the store was pretty picked over, but wine, obviously, everything dealing. They have been pretty good about having toilet paper and paper towels there. So, I mean, I'm getting to the point. I used to see toilet paper and I'd be like, I have to buy the toilet paper. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. And now it's like, I don't need any more toilet paper. Like,
yeah, I think when this is all over, people are going to be sitting on a lot of toilet paper for years. I don't see it ever getting all used up, to be honest with you. But
yeah, we definitely won't have to buy toilet paper for a while. But
well, that first one, I really like that, Rock. That was really nice.
I
hope my rosé that's coming up in a moment can equal to that white. The rosé, and I usually always, when we've talked about doing this show, and even any type of summer show, I always lean, as you know, towards French rosés. And I picked this one out. I actually had this one, but it's been a long time. The Rosé d'Agenais. And
so this is an area called the Loire in France. It's over in the western part, kind of closer to Spain. And I don't know this part of the Loire. I guess it's probably made with either Pinot Noir or Cab Franc because that's about the only types of red varietals that they grow up there. Trying to rack my brain for anything else, but
and they're also more the accessible price point. You know, they're not super expensive rosés that come from that area. Like this particular one, I'd even get this on a discount. And you know, like you, I try to always find wines when they're either at a discount or on sale. This one I think generally sells between $7.99 and $9.99 generally.
Oh wow!
Not being on sale. So let's see how we go here. It's a little more mouthy.
That's got that's a high viscosity for a rosé. It's not a bad thing. It's kind of, I would almost put it in the Jolly Rancher category. It's got a very candied, like a candied strawberry, candied watermelon flavor to it. It's almost like a watermelon Jolly Rancher.
I would say it is kind of strawberry forward for a rosé. And once again, I'm going to use the honey factor again because that's the best way I think for people to, when we say high viscosity honey. If you're drinking something with honey on it, when you add it to tea, it's a little bit thicker. So it coats the inside of your mouth and tongue a little bit more. And I think that's what's happening with this rosé. Now, this rosé, yours is probably a little colder than mine. Mine is probably, like I said, it's been sitting open on the table for about 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. So maybe, has yours been the same, or have you
No, this one's pretty cold. Got it out of the refrigerator about 5 minutes before the show started. This is a tasty wine for that price point. That's amazing. They have rosés just in general are one of the best bargains in wine for my money.
And I'll say again, for what you're getting, especially during the spring and summer, we've talked about this so many times over the years. Rosés are great for sitting on the patio, sitting outside on a nice summer night, cool, whether it's cool or warm. It's just very refreshing. To me, it's my favorite summer drinking one. Next to, of course, a good Sauvignon Blanc. But and you can't go wrong generally with a French rosé. There are some bad ones, but even their bad ones are pretty good.
You know what would be a good show is a rosé show because there's a distinct difference between the rosés that you get in France, the rosés that you get in Spain. Some of my favorite rosés come out of Austria, and they're some of the best bargains that you can get. They usually come in the liter bottle. You've got rosés. Well, I guess if you think about it, you could get any place that grows red wine could also make rosé. But that would be a great show because last year, the gentleman that was on our show from France, if you remember,
Yes, Chedwick, I believe. Mr. Chedwick.
yes, he had a rosé that had, for the best way that I could describe it, the kind of herbal ingredient that's in New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It's kind of like a grassy note. It gives it that New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc kind of keynote characteristic. I typically hate that flavor. I'm not a big fan of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc because of that flavor, but for some reason, that flavor was in the rosé that he had last year that I believe was called Charms. And it's like one of my favorites, if not my favorite rosé. It just works really well. So I would love to do a rosé show, one that's got kind of like herbal elements to it, one that's more on the sweeter side, one that's more delicate, and even compare the difference between one that runs in the $7 range to, you get your Whispering Angels and you're paying $20. I think that there's no reason to spend that kind of money for a rosé because the difference between a $7 one and, a $20 one for me is not that much.
I think when you start getting at that higher price, you're really paying more for the provenance of the winemaker or the marketing that goes into the bottle than the actual quality of the wine that you're drinking. Because I agree with you. I don't think you're really getting a huge difference in flavor when you start jumping up in price in rosé prices. I haven't seen it, and you probably drank more than I have. But the price, the flavor profiles, unlike a red wine or even a good quality white or white wine, it doesn't jump that much in a rosé when it comes.
Yeah,
to
they're all very similar in that if you are drinking a rosé, you can expect it to have strawberry, you can expect it to have watermelon. It might be some of them. I think the biggest variation in rosé is probably the acid level, and then occasionally you'll have an herbal characteristic to it. But some of them are high acid. I'm a big high acid. I love the ones out of kind of colder regions, like the one I was telling you about in Austria. We get one it actually has a Coke bottle top. You have to pop it off. It's really cool. It's out of Austria. I can't remember the name of it. I'd love to get one of those if we ever did a rosé show, and then compare it side by side to one from a warmer region and just see what the difference is.
Yeah, we know before we filmed our last show, just after our last show, I thought spring and summer were here, but we're sitting here. It's like 45 degrees outside and going to be raining tomorrow. Hopefully spring and summer kick back in soon.
I mean, yeah, Mother Nature's not making any of this easier, is she?
No, but it is a little bit because we're drinking some wonderful wine. So
we are.
look at it that way.
I'm kind of curious. This doesn't taste very high alcohol.
I'm going to guess it's 10, 11.
10.5% alcohol, yeah. Wow. I mean, that's good because if it's a porch pounder and you're going to drink a lot of it, you probably don't want to be up in that 14% range because you're going to have a headache the next day.
I meant to ask you the other day when I talked to you, maybe you know a little bit about this. Is wine production going to be hurt by this whole worldwide scenario we got going on? Have you heard anything about that?
I have to imagine that northern Italy was one of the most hard hit regions in the entire planet. So this wine that we just had is from northern Italy. I mean, it's Langhe, right where they got hit the hardest in terms of case fatality. And so I have to imagine that, yes, it's going to be devastating, but I mean, if you really think about it, I don't know that the people who passed away are the ones that were involved in the production of the wine. Maybe those are the younger people. Or in Italy, the people who are the elders are in charge of that kind of thing. I guess it'll remain to be seen. These are kind of the ancillary effects that you won't know until maybe a year down the road.
Yeah, I think production and shipping is going to be an issue because I think I told you I had a car. My car was in the shop for 6 weeks. It was a Volvo, but this part had to come from Sweden. But because of all the delay in the shipping and workers not working at the plant, it
Yep.
took almost 6, 7 weeks to get a part.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just for a Volvo, which are everywhere. But for
Yeah.
wine, I would think you're still going to have a problem with shipping, especially in regards to the people who are actually working at the plants, packing it
Mm-hmm.
up, getting it
Yeah.
ready. So we might see an influx, or we might see a spike in prices in wine too.
You might. I mean, I'll be curious to see if they lift the. They were going to do 100% tariff on European wines, and it ended up being something much lower. But still, I think now would be a good time to do away with that. Certainly, uh, but we won't know until until some of this starts to kind of mellow out a bit.
Well, one thing we do know, we're going to be going into our first red wine tonight. So I think we said we were going to start with the, what are we starting with for the red?
You want to start with the? I don't care. I think it's kind of 6.5 dozen.
Yeah, you're
Merlot is. I'll just say this: that Merlot is in the $6 to $7 price range. No guarantees on it, but I kind of just wanted to. Yes, this is another. As I was perusing the aisles of Costco, I saw a bunch of them that had the Kirkland brand, which is Costco's proprietary label, and I kind of wanted to grab a couple of those just to see how they compared, maybe the Kirkland rosé compared to this. But I would actually like to have a Kirkland show, just where we do all Kirkland wines, just to see how, especially with a guest, and see how
Yes.
hold up. Because I've had Kirkland wines before that were god awful, but I actually like their champagne, and it sells for $20. Sandy hates it, but Sandy's allowed to be wrong too. So
That was, yeah, I remember that. Didn't we have that champagne on the show? Where did we have that recently?
was it on the
At
show?
your Halloween party?
Yeah, that might have been. We had it at the Halloween party. It might have been on the show. Honestly, don't remember. I've been doing the show too long. I'm starting to all fade together now.
So have you aerated anything yet? I didn't know if we told everybody we're going to be aerating the reds afterwards. These are just dry pours or direct pours from the bottom, my first six.
Rather than aerate it, what I did is I poured it into a Pinot Noir glass about 45 minutes ago. So I have to imagine it's going to have some oxygen on it. I got to tell you, this thing actually smells pretty good.
Wow, that's musty. Wow.
For that price point.
You would not expect that smell at that price point. That's something that usually bump up a little bit in price, maybe $30, $40 to get that kind of aroma.
Got a good smell. Well, we're supposed to be wine geeks. Good aroma, but it's got a good smell. I'm really surprised at how good this is.
And for people always ask about, what do you mean by like earthy? I would say this is like an very earthy aroma on this wine.
This is a wine. Yeah, this is a wine that if I got at a restaurant and paid $10 for the glass, I wouldn't be upset. I mean, it's not. It's definitely not a $50 bottle of wine, but I thought it would be. I thought I'd be spitting it out, and I'm really not.
I got to be honest with you. I'm really curious to see how this is going to taste when I aerate this one, because this is just right out of the bottle. But this drinks like a much more expensive wine. You're absolutely right.
You know what it is? It's got oak. Oak is expensive. I have to imagine they probably used oak chips, but whatever they did, it works. I mean, the color's nice on it. The flavor it's nice, like kind of cherry.
And this one was from where, Rock?
Costco. Yeah.
So once again, Dynamite 17 Merlot. And this is another example of a freaking Merlot. Merlots are back, baby. I mean, that's delicious.
Yeah, the Merlots I'm starting to see more in the marketplace. The very first show that I ever did for Two Guys and a Lot of Wine, I think it was February of 2016, our theme was Merlot. And
yes.
A lot of the show, we discussed the movie Sideways, which supposedly devastated the Merlot market, which was what they had the most of for reds in America. Before that movie, I think 2005, when that movie came out, and there was one line from the movie, which because this is a family show, I'm not going to repeat the line because it has an expletive in it. But he basically says, "I'm not drinking any Merlot," and it just that one line of a movie just destroyed the Merlot market in America. But it's starting to make a comeback. So
I think it's absolutely spectacular. I think that's going to be on my to-go list. The earthiness and the aroma. I mean, you really think like you're drinking. If you were at a vineyard right now and you got this poured, it smells and tastes that fresh.
Yeah, it's fresh. It's got a lot of cherry. It's got oak. It's got some herbal qualities to it. It's got everything that you would expect out of California Merlot. At probably, if I had to guess at what this cost, if I just had it, if I had to guess at what it cost, I probably would have put it at about maybe $16 or $17. Yeah. I wouldn't have put it at $7, $6, $7. So.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, you never know.
Well, your two selections have been spot on. I got to say, Brock, fantastic. I have to ask you, did you cheat with the Robert Oatley Shiraz? Did you cheat? Have you already tasted that one?
I have not, but you know what? So I have this one. I'm going to be able to really get my nose in. This is my Nebbiolo glass from Riedel. I believe this thing cost about $50. But you see how it's got the kind of curves out at the end. You can really taste and smell with this glass. I love this glass. I used to have two of them. My cat destroyed one of them, but this one is. I poured it, like I said, 45 minutes ago. So it's got some sediment on the side of there too.
Well, this one, the Robert Oatley from McLaren Vale, I believe, Shiraz. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we talked about doing doing more Australian wines. Because as a rule, for the last almost how many years now, we haven't done a lot of Australian wines. Mm-hmm. And the last several ones I've tried the last 6 months, I've really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. Robert Oatley is a pretty famous winemaker. And the Shiraz, when I tasted it, I said, holy crap, that's freaking good. And I'm curious to see if you like it, because I know you also don't drink a lot of Australian wines.
I don't. This is McLaren Vale is probably the most famous region for Shiraz in Australia. You've got McLaren Vale and Barossa, they're right next door to each other in southern Australia, southeastern Australia. McLaren Vale probably were some of your most expensive Shiraz come from. So I'm running off.
This is at least try 2014, I believe. Yeah, 2014. And when I tasted this, I said, this is really spectacular. And I got a great deal on this. This is also still available locally. I think the regular retail is between like $19, $23. And I didn't pay that for it because they were still clearing out particular stock that I bought. But it is still available locally. Just Google it, look online. I think Liquor Depot or one of the stores like that. Mm-hmm. But this is really good. And it's another reason that, in a way, I'm sorry I haven't done more Australian wines over the years, because this is pretty good.
They are, they are very bold. The Shiraz is, if you like blueberry and blackberry, it's kind of got that blue and black, bold blue and black fruit profile. Very stark contrast from the Merlot, which is a red fruit. And typically with wines, you're either in the red category over here or you're in the blue/black category over here. And that's why a lot of times, in order to create like a more interesting wine, what they'll mix with Shiraz, which is Syrah, as they call it in France, is they'll mix Grenache with it, because that's a very red fruit varietal. With this, a blue fruit varietal. And when you put them together, you kind of get a blending where when you taste the wine, you get red, you get blue, and it just comes together well. Now, you can't mix Merlot, interestingly enough, with Shiraz. It's not really done that often. So it has to be just the right kind of wine and just the right levels of all the things that you need. This, I assume, is just 100% varietal Shiraz. This is everything that
I believe it is.
Yeah.
And what's interesting also is, even though this is kind of a bold red, it's still a good spring and summer red.
I can taste the oak on it. It tones it down some. It's got just enough tannin where it's good, but it's not drying your mouth out. It's well balanced. This wine, I would probably, for my own liking, it's a little bit too bold for me at room temperature. I might chill at about 10 degrees, and then I could drink it a little warm. Alcohol in these from this region tend to be on the high side. I don't think this one's too high though. Yeah, 14.5%.
So we're in Zinfandel range almost with this.
But once you get upwards of 14.5%, I mean that's just warmer climates generate more sugar, which equals more alcohol once it goes through the fermentation process. But it's well balanced. You know, the bolder wines kind of need more of an alcohol punch, or else they taste jammy. So,
You know, I'm going to say, Rocket, and this is a little bit higher red wine than I would generally drink, alcohol content in the spring or summer, but it's not overpowering. It's a very subtle alcohol. It
not at all.
doesn't
Yeah.
pound you like some other strong alcohol-induced wines do. This
Yeah.
is very good. And I'm going to try aerating this one because I want to see if that makes a little bit of a difference.
All right.
You can see my little aerator there. I know in our last show, your aerator was bigger than mine, so I'm still
Yes,
suffering.
we were watching that show the other day. I forgot about that line, but that was hysterical. I never got to use the little one that attaches to the end of the bottle. I never got to use it. I was so proud of that thing. And it just got poo-pooed by everyone. But
Well, I'm still suffering from aerator envy, so I'm still trying to do
yes. That was actually an aerator that Sandy used to work for a company where she did in-home wine tastings, and they sold little gadgets too along with it. And that was one of the things that she sold.
I'm gonna say the aeration toned this down a bit, and I'm not sure that's the positive or not. Not sure I like the aeration on this particular one.
I mean, if you're dealing with stuff from southeastern Australia bold wines, I don't know that you really want to tone them down. I mean, that's what makes them what they are.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that because we talked about aeration on our last show. There are some wines that maybe will not benefit at all from aeration. And here's an example right here.
Almost all white wines you don't want to aerate. You don't want to aerate rosé. I mean, I guess some people do. It depends on what it is that you want. If you don't like it this bold, you could aerate it and make it less bold. But if you don't like it this bold, my suggestion would not be to take a bold wine and aerate it like this and make it less bold, but to find a different kind of wine that you like better.
Yeah, I think if you don't like a bold wine, you probably shouldn't buy a bold wine when it comes right down to it, because you're probably not you're gonna think this is too strong. So we got a couple minutes left, Rock, and I think whenever we get to actually go into WHCTV and WHCI and film again, hopefully my hair will be better and I'll have some summer color. Do you have anything planned, or you're just staying home and doing? I know you're like me; you're an essential worker, so we're both still working.
That's a very good question. I have nothing planned until May 20th. At that point, from what I understand, we're going to open everything up and we'll be dancing around in circles and everything's going to be great. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know what's going to happen. Taking it day by day. I'm drinking probably more wine than I usually do, but I'm not overdoing it. I'm just.
I think what you're going to see is either culturally we'll be like the Italians, we'll want to embrace everybody we see because it's been so long since we talked in groups, or we'll never get over it and we'll just stay away.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen?
Saying don't ever shake hands anymore. That's apparently not a good thing. We'll see. Who knows?
You know what? There's always wine to keep us all happy.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I've got my wine, and even during a pandemic, wine still tastes the same to me. So that's something that this virus couldn't take from us, right?
Well, I want to thank WHCI for setting up this little Zoom interaction with Rocky and I for Two Guys and a Lot of Wine, and hopefully you'll see us back in the studio sometime in May or June. We'll see what happens. If not, you'll see us on Zoom. So, Rocky, thanks for joining me.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Stay safe.
Until next time,
West Hartford.
Yeah, keep all of us on your Zoom.
Yeah, in your wine cellar.
Yeah, your wine cellar, right?
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.